Welcome back to my channel. It's been quite a while since I uploaded last and a few things have changed. So I recently decided to dismantle my fish tanks and redo them the first time in about 6 years. And I love the way it turned out. So this is my guppy tank. It's the one I showed you in the last video. And I had just added these two females when I posted that video. So the large one with the blue and black tail, and then the tequila sunrise female as well. I had 3 males in here. I did lose one of those, but as you can see, we have babies. Lots of babies. And someone had asked for a video on how to get your guppies to breed because they were having difficulty. And I will do a separate video for that, but I'll cover a little bit of it in this video as well. I want to tell you a little bit about how I built this tank. Previously, when I showed it to you, it was covered in, well, let me see if I can show you down here. It's going to be dark, but these kind of pebbles. And it was pretty bad off. All the poop and stuff had collected in there. So I totally dismantled it, kept some of the water that was in there, and had 2 5-gallon buckets full of water that I had been letting sit outside so that the chlorine would evaporate, so that I could use some fresh water in their tanks. I took all the little pebbles out, and I added sand that I didn't pay anything for, and let me tell you why. We recently, actually on my birthday, one of our kittens passed away. She's not really ours. She wasn't really ours. She was a stray who showed up and didn't leave. And we let her in the house sometimes, and she was very sweet and lovable. And I came home on my birthday, and I don't know what happened. She had passed away. She was in the yard. And so I was digging a hole for her to bury her. I know this is morbid. But I dug down so deep that I got to this layer of white sand. It did have some darker colored dirt or sand in there, so I just brought it in the house, and I had 2 big plastic bowls, and I separated it out into that, and I just rinsed and rinsed and rinsed and rinsed and rinsed over and over until I got all the dark out. And I was left with just this really nice beach sand. There's already some poop and stuff, but... And then I took some rocks that I had purchased years ago from the Dollar Tree, and some that I had also found different places that we went to, and I made a little rock area there for babies to hide in. This and that were both one big piece that I cut into 2 separate pieces to give babies a place to hide in as well. This plant came from a roadside ditch. I grabbed it, I soaked it in water from my tap for a few days, and then I soaked it in water from my fish tank for a few days. I don't know why, I guess because I thought it might help get rid of anything that might be bad. And these here came from a pond where we go fishing. I'll be getting some more to add to this later. And I did the same with those. This big ball of stringy moss came from my mom's guppy tank. I cleaned that as well. And then this pothos came from my mother pothos plant, and I stuck it in a little glass jar, an antique or vintage glass jar that I found bottle dump digging. And it's doing great in here, and I got that idea from my mom. I used to put pothos in my tanks, but she had it actually set up kind of nice, so I decided to do that. This rock back here that you see that is slanted, that was sent to me from a viewer on my main channel. It's actually petrified wood, and I have several more pieces that I may decide to add to this tank. And then along the back I have several of my moss balls that I got a few years ago that are in there just kind of helping the water. On the top I have the small leaves that you're seeing is some duckweed I got from my mom's tank. And then the large, I'm not sure what it is. I think it's probably duckweed as well, but I got that from a river that we were fishing at. And I got some new filters from a thrift store, a box of 3 for $1 or 50 cents. I think I paid 50 cents for that. You can see the duckweed floating around in the water. That's going to help oxygenate the water. It's going to help the fish. And everybody seems very happy in here since the remodel, I guess you can say. There's also some lava rock back here that I found at my old house. Everything I've added in here from the wild has been cleaned and sanitized to the best of my abilities. And I think it's doing great. So like I said, we do have babies. And someone did ask about a video on that. So I'll do a whole video on that. But I will just say that it took... I think I got these fish back in January or February, the females, to add to the tank, and I didn't notice babies until 2 weeks ago. I don't know if that was because they were hiding so well in the other tank, or the other tank maybe the fish weren't happy in. I mean, these babies look like they are at least a week or 2 old, I would say, maybe even 3. But all I can tell you is that guppies breed constantly. That's all they do. The males chase the girls, unless they're eating, to breed. And it shouldn't be difficult to get them to breed, as long as they're happy and healthy in their tank and the babies have plenty of places to hide so that they won't get eaten. Because these live bearers, they kind of produce their own food source in case of emergency. I don't know if that's true. I just made that up. But really, if the babies don't have lots of good places to hide, the mother and the father will eat them. I've seen it happen a few times. Even babies I thought were too big for the adult guppies to eat, they have eaten. So, like I said, I'll make a whole separate video detailing everything about getting them to breed. But I just wanted to give you an update on that fish tank. And I have another one. This is my mystery snail or apple snail tank. And this was a horrible tank before. It had all of these stones covering everything. And it did have this and that brick and this piece of driftwood in there. But it just was ugly. I didn't like it. The snails were not happy. So I dismantled this whole thing. I actually had this fish tank sitting outside where I was basically breeding mosquito larvae to feed to my guppies. And the snails were actually in this tank, which you can see is disgusting. This is all from our hard water. We were adding water to the tank without letting it sit, and that's what happened. And you can see some remnants. I did the best I could to clean it off of the filter, but there's still some there. So I hatched these snails out from the wild. You'll see them. I had a video on this channel about a DIY snail tank and filter. And I hatched these guys out. I found their eggs when I was at a job with my boyfriend, took them home, hatched them out, and I got hundreds. A lot of them didn't make it. I have 2 in here. And they seem to really enjoy this tank so far. I think so anyway. I added a little bit of duckweed, not much. Hopefully it'll spread out. And then I put some pothos in the filter as well. And I gave them just a little cave for them to explore. This is covered in algae. So was this tank when I brought it in from outside, completely green. I actually saved most of the green water that I got from this tank to add to my garden because algae is really good. I put a moss ball in here just to help out, and I just decorated it and added the same sand into here Just some little decorations. And like I said, they seem pretty darn happy since I moved them in here. They're moving around a lot more, and I'm happy with it. I think we're gonna get some fish, a couple of fish to add in here. I may even get some minnows when we go fishing and add them in here. I have 2 tanks that are going to be outside, and I do plan to put some minnows in those tanks. And I also plan to buy a little kiddie pool when they go on sale, and I'm going to be doing some outdoor guppy tanks. There is a plant, a floating water plant I want to get to add to that pool and to add to my tanks here. And eventually, one day maybe, I would like to create my own strain of guppies, and possibly sell them. So that's my update, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing to my channel. It'll help me out a lot. And if you have enjoyed the video so far, please make sure you hit that like button, and feel free to leave a comment with anything you would like to see on this channel. It helps out my channel when you do any of those things. So I'll thank you in advance, and we will see you next time.